Guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Draw with a girl named Bob. This time, we're doing my Hotline Miami title card all the way from the start, and unlike with my Resident Evil 4 title card, I did have a very clear idea of how I wanted this to be. I wanted it to be the Bob in the helmet and holding an axe in some position, and I stick with the over the shoulder holding the axe, as you'll see in a bit. But yeah, the sketch process wasn't that time consuming, unlike the Resident Evil 4, since I had a clear cut vision in my mind for what I wanted it to be, except the one thing that you will soon see that I was kind of just uh, getting kind of nitpicky about was her actual final body form, which is what you can see me editing right now, is the actual dimensions, because right now I'm kind of in a transition period as to how I want Bob's body to be. She has, on occasion, two different body forms, one being more feminine, which would include the curves at the hips and breasts and everything, but the second form is uh, well, I guess more masculine in the fact that it just goes straight from the hips to the shoulders without it breaking in between. If you looked early on, it's that sketch where it goes, it's just a box and then you have the dimensions to do that. I usually use that for her when she's in menswear and just doing extreme poses or anything like that where the clothes aren't too baggy. But she does have officially a quote unquote woman's body. It's just that sometimes I forget how to do the dimensions properly. I still don't have a set in stone character sheet for her besides everything from the belly button up I have down to a T at this point. It's just once it gets to the waist and I have to deal with the hips, I just don't know if I want to do it exaggerated and less feminine or more anatomy. Yeah, let's go with anatomy and correctness. So, yeah, I just play around with that because also with this being the outfits that I play around with her to use in this title card, I go between the biker's outfit and the owl's outfit, which is the suit, as you'll see upcoming. I just, you know, as long as I get the point across how she, holds herself visually, I don't really care about, if it's feminine or masculine. Regardless, like right here is the suit. I don't know if I want to stick with the suit or the helmet, but I just wasn't feeling it with the suit, so I just go for the helmet for the final design because it just felt better. And I got to play around more with the colors because Hotline Miami just lets me. I knew I was gonna make this title card brighter than like 40 highlighter boxes just combined, like they exploded on the freeway from a mass collision with a neon sign producer. God only knows what that means. But yeah, so for this, very much like the Resident Evil title card, it was basically the head proportions that I always end up focusing on because there's such a huge asset of her description. It's those eyes are just massive, and they can be, when you're dealing with eyes that big for a character, it can be sort of you can run into problems when it comes to where to locate their pupils, how their expressions are going to be. A good example of how to work with pupils really well is not just The Simpsons, but Family Guy or American Dad, or really any of the Seth MacFarlane inspired shows, because those they handle the eyes really well. If you watch those characters, it's very when they change direction of what they're looking at, that you'll usually notice that they blink or it's really fast cuts, so you don't have to look at the awkward transitions of one pupil moving more than the other because it's closer to the audience. And that's just, when you got that much space and it's a defining character, you do have to invest a lot more time to it than, say, the main body. The body is, as you can see, the body is already down and basically set in stone for what it's going to look like in the final lines. Right now I'm just in the second part of the sketch, but the eyes just have, they show all the motion and everything else that you want to, not just in motion, but characteristics. It's, the old saying, the eyes are the windows through the soul. It's the same thing with this. So That stupid monster of a head, just big old watermelon head, was a pain in the ass to get a helmet on top of, because I've never had to put a helmet on top of her before. And right here, I'm just trying to see if I wanted to make her larger or not in final design, and I end up choosing to go with the smaller one because the larger scaled position was just too massive. It would have been cut off in previews for being published on YouTube. Another thing that you always have to keep in mind when making title cards, especially for YouTube, is knowing your dimensions for where everything definitely will be seen, regardless. Because if you put important information that gets cut off, then you're just doing a lot of work that could have been put elsewhere. So it's just, designing, being able to design smartly and effectively. And as you can see, already this body is almost completely done in the inking. Inking is never the thing that gets me. You should always invest your time into the sketch. Once you get the first sketch done, the rough sketch done, and you move on to the second sketch, which is much more detailed, where you want the clothing and everything else to be, get all that done as soon as you possibly can, and it'll make everything else go 1,000 times smoother. Because if you know what you're doing, and even if you don't know what you're doing and you're just experimenting, it's still always better to get it done in the early stages, because then you can just focus all the details and the rest of the work into the final look of the piece. And right now I still don't I don't have I know the way I want her hands to look is kind of like the sausage fingers from Team Fortress. They're very square and large. I like that look. But hands are still a pain in the ass to get down from different angles, and I'm trying to get a style down to where, like, from any angle you could use so and so of the design to be used as that kind of like. Well, I guess it always depends on the situation, but usually when you're developing a character sheet and how a character is going to look, a hand at a certain position will cover different uh, expressions on for a multitude. So like the fist is facing the audience, so that can be used for like any amount. It's not a three-dimensional object, so say, as it is a design. So I could rotate that around to like a full 360, and it can be used for different positions, like either a handshake or anything like that. Basically, what I'm trying to say, long story short, I don't have a full and final design for the hands yet. I'm still working on that. The body's not that bad for a final design. It's just that I like to go in between the two designs I have for her, either more realistic or more exaggerated. So I'm going to always play between those two, but I should make a character sheet regardless. And right now, I've barely talked about anything other in this video, but I hope it's still entertaining you as I talk about hips and eyes, because that's all that matters. But right now, just getting, I don't put in the details like the sleeves into sketches usually. It's because when you start getting to the final design, like right now, I'm messing around with the axe to see how it will play with the helmet, but since I don't have the helmet completed yet, the final design, I decided to leave it alone, and then once the helmet's in position, then I'll put the axe in position. So it's basically very much an assembly kind of scenario. So the details and all that you can still experiment with in the inking process to where it feels like it's fine. It fits the overall design how you want it to be, like everything's just a-okay. But yeah, so not everything needs to be done in the sketch period, but once you start getting the final designs of how everything should look, that's it'll come naturally to you. What the hell am I talking about? I'm just watching me as lines go by my face at 1,000 miles per hour. That helmet really was a pain in the ass to get correct because of the stupid proportion of her head. But once again, focusing on the eyes now for their final design. And I really did have a lot of fun. I always have fun drawing, but I haven't drawn. The last time I drew was the Resident Evil 4 title card, which was way back in February, and right now it's the end of April. I've just been busy with real life jobs with other clients, so unfortunately I haven't had time to just draw for my own, you know, not my own amusement but just for myself, because these title cards I consider uh, very much a part of my work. It's just the illustrations I haven't been able to do, which is why I was kind of rusty in the beginning, sketching out her body design, trying to get everything into proportion and into its right location. But everything, you just play around, you get it into position, and you just keep going from there. So yeah, I was just a bit rusty on actually drawing, but getting back into the groove of things, and hopefully more uh, more of these videos will be frequenting your inbox, your subscribe inbox. If you haven't subscribed yet, may I suggest that you do, because I love you and I find you incredibly intelligent and sexy. Boom. Yeah, you heard it from here. Ugh. But yeah, so right now, the main aspect of her body is done, and just finishing up the details and getting her hair done. I did like the extremely exaggerated, wispy hair, but then I realized, oh shit, I'm gonna have to put the title, the episode numbers and all that over there, so I had to tone it down. I wrung it back in a bit. In retrospect, I probably should put the hair behind her, but it does look good going, countering her body by going in the opposite direction instead of just being directly behind her. So you just make compromises for the best decisions. So I'm flattening out the lines so that I can move on to the coloring, and I actually do the basic colors in this video so you can see how that works. I will make videos detailing coloring from square one to square whatever it takes to get finished, but here I just do the basic colors. And right now I have the my color chart that I use for Bob. If you have a character that you use on a constant basis, I highly suggest making color charts for them. It doesn't have to be anything overly complicated, as you can see from the one that I was using, that it was nothing but a couple of dots on the canvas, and as long as it's big enough where you can use the eyedropper to get it, then that's all that matters. So yes, use color palette examples so that you can always have a consistency with your characters, and now I'm trying to get the rest of her outfit in sync with the color themes from the actual game Hotline Miami. And yeah, so I will make videos in the future of coloring intricate pieces, or just even shading and all that, from the first step to the final step. So those will be coming. It's just that the reason why I didn't include it in this video is because coloring, for me, I'm not... It's not that I have a problem with coloring, it's just that it takes me probably the same amount of time it would have taken me to just draw her to... Well, no, that's not fair. It's just I experiment more. Like, nothing's in concrete for especially the backgrounds. When I do backgrounds, I just test out different gradients and through that. So it's just basically trials and errors there to see what fits the composition. Like, I might think of one thing working and then I try it out, but it doesn't work, so I just end up just doing everything else, to get it to its final state. Too long didn't read. Coloring is a bitch, and whoever invented it was a bastard, man. It's just, I'm a linesman. I can't deny that. I will always be a linesman, and coloring is just, I consider that more of a chore than it being fun. I will always treat it as such. And we're getting towards the end of the video, and as we get there, those red gloves were atrocious. Thank God I didn't do it. God, the 80s were just vomits of rainbow. It was pretty nice. But I shall leave you on these next few moments of me drawing a palm tree for the very first time. I don't think I've ever drawn a palm tree before. It was a thing that happened. But yeah, so I wanted to have palm trees in the background of the final card, just like they do in the Hotline Miami, because it's a very fantastic design, the way they've included the palm trees into their final design. Mine's aren't as elegant as theirs, but it gets the job done. It's much more graphically acceptable, I guess. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyways, this has been episode 4 of Let's Draw with a Girl Named Bob, if we're going chronologically. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and there will be more to come, especially the more I get into the groove of things with drawing on my own time. So until next time, peace out.